Okay.
Hi, it's Lauren Abrams with 52 Weeks of Hope, and I'm so excited to go live again with Chris Shelton. He's episode, oh my gosh, I just blanked on what episode number you are. Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'll look it up really quick.
I love this.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Shelton, and I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner as well as a Qigong master, Qigong Tai Chi master. I've been in clinical practice now for over 24 years. I've been studying these ancient arts for a little bit over 30 years now. And I do all kinds of things besides seeing patients in clinical practice. We have a 2-year mastermind group. We have a Qi club. I do Chinese face reading and teach classes in Chinese face reading. And the style of Qigong that I teach is for emotional wellness and emotional health. So that's just a little bit of what we do.
Yeah, and it's episode 189, which is in the description for right now. Okay, and the Chinese face reading was so interesting. Do you know how many of my friends were talking about the space between their eyebrows and issues?
Oh.
These were people, some of the people I didn't even know listened to the podcast, and maybe they only listen to yours. But yeah, it's such a good episode. Wait, I'll put this in here. It's episode 189. I'll put a description of what that is in a minute, but why don't you just talk about that briefly, just because that's so interesting, how you can read faces.
Yeah, and you can learn how to read somebody's face as well, too. So Chinese face reading, also referred to as Xingmen, is a couple thousand-year-old practice because Chinese medical doctors at the time didn't think it was appropriate to touch women to diagnose them. So every feature on your face connects to a certain organ. Well, mainly the 5 organs, your spleen, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, and your liver. So different parts of the face connect to different organs. So we could tell from looking at, let's say, the size of your nose, the width of your nose. We could tell how well you invest. We could tell by the size of your nostrils how much of a tightwad you are, or how generous you are by looking at the size of your nostrils. And it's not only money, but it's also energy too. So how that would roll out in, let's say, a personal relationship is that somebody with really tiny nostrils might not be that generous with their energy, or sensually they may not be that generous, So every feature connects to something, and we could tell past traumas, emotional traumas. That's what's really important about this. And also, it's really important, we can tell potential diseases in the body. And what's fascinating is, because I have on my TikTok channel, people have been sending me their faces for me to read. And it's funny, some of the comments, majority of the people out there love this, but you always have those, oh, this is pseudoscience.
The haters.
What's your credentials, and all this kind of stuff. And my response to them is, well, if you're questioning what I'm talking about, send me a picture of your face. And no one ever does. And it's normally men. It's normally men hiding behind their keyboard with their shallow egos.
Okay, so I have a question. That just prompted a question about generational trauma. Is it true? Is this just like, and how does that show up if there's generational trauma?
Yeah, well, there is definitely. They say that your face goes back, I think it is 13 generations.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And so at some level in your DNA, some of that stuff is there. Though, if you change the patterning, you could change the outcome.
Okay, so how do we do that? And how do you know? I mean, if it goes back that many generations, like, who knows? I mean, I'm sure some families know that, but I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, me neither. I just tell everybody I just messed up. I don't know what would.
We didn't even talk about our feelings growing up. Never mind grandparents or great grandparents. Like my parents, I don't even know anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the main thing is that is recognizing certain features on the face, and if it shows like a lot of past regrets. Certain lines on the face, for example, will show past regrets. Certain lines on the face will show old repressed anger. Some lines on the face will show abuse, and whether it's physical or sexual abuse. And so I think what's most important when we look at generational trauma is being able to have the tools to transform that, break that cycle. That's the whole thing, is about breaking the cycle. And that's where the practice of Qigong comes in, at least the style of Qigong that I teach, because the style of Qigong I teach is based upon the 5 elements, which is based upon Once again, the 5 major organs of the body, which all house a different negative emotion. So if you could get to the root and say, okay, well, yes, I have daddy issues, or I have mommy issues, and maybe it was in the womb, or maybe it was a past, generational type thing that was just carried down. The nice thing is that you could actually tap into that, and from doing these qigong practices, be able to start to heal and transform, the process of disease and the emotional trauma which creates the disease. Because in Chinese medicine, at least classical Chinese medicine, the leading cause of death and disease is emotional trauma.
Okay, so if I don't know if I have it, because like I love the way you said it, I'm just messed up. I don't know where it comes from, but could I just do all 5? Oh, and everybody, you have to just go to Chris's YouTube, because his exercises are easy, accessible, and they're fun. And they're not like, oh, you need 90 minutes to do this. They're like really fun. I did them before we talked for this last episode, and just so I could be very current. And I was like, okay, these are like addicting. I just feel so good after, and they were fun and easy. So go to his YouTube. So could I just do all 5, and then just in case?
Yeah.
So I don't get those diseases.
So yes, you could do all 5 of the organ cleansing exercises.
Yeah.
For the liver, heart, spleen, and kidneys and lungs. You could also, there's the healing sounds as well too. What I love about the healing sounds is that you could take it with you anywhere. Because that's the thing, is that in our society, and I don't know how you were brought up, but when I was brought up, if I was starting to cry, I was told to shut up.
Yeah.
So we learn at a young age that like we have to stuff our emotions, and those stuffing of those emotions creates disease, inflammation, and disease. And so the nice thing about the healing sounds, and one of my favorite healing sounds to give to people, is the heart healing sound, which is ha, because the heart is the emperor, empress of the body. So before, let's say, anger and resentment and old anger attacks the liver and the gallbladder, it has to go through the heart. And if you think about it, if you get angry at something, what do? Your heart races and then attacks your liver. If you're grieving something, your heart hurts and then weakens your lungs. So that's the nice thing about the healing sounds, is that you can do all of them. And if something comes up for you while you're driving, or maybe you're on the job or whatever, then this is where you go ahead and do them. So
so what color? Because you did on the episode, you guys have to listen to the episode. It's so good. And Chris goes through all the colors and which emotion and everything else. We're not going to do all that right now, but what color, when we think of the heart, should we think of?
The color pink or the color red. So imagine a red or a pink cloud enveloping the heart.
It's easy to remember because it's a heart. Yeah.
And then the key here is that if you know what the feeling sensation or the emotional sensation is connected to, you think of that person or event, who was involved, what was involved, or what is involved if you're going through it right now. Feel that. And then as you inhale, imagine that pink or red cloud filling up into the heart. And then as you exhale, making the ha sound. Ha. And as you make that sound, imagine that circumstance leaving like a dark cloud, going several feet away from the body and down deep into the ground. And you do that over and over again. And if you're in public, you could do the sound underneath your breath. And the whole key is that you have a tool right here, right now. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't need any special yoga pants or anything like that, or any meditation devices. You could take it with you anywhere. And as silly as it may seem, most everything in the multi-universe, the more simplistic something is, the more profound it is.
Yeah, no, and I love that. Okay, so, and I was bothering your wife about this. So I've had this sore throat for weeks, and I'm like, wait, I talk for a living. This is a problem. So I was like, okay, so what's the holistic thing? And then I just found out yesterday about, is it Manuka honey?
Manuka honey, yes.
I don't have any idea. Like, and I'm like, okay, but was there a color I was supposed to be like breathing in? Like, I need Chris.
Yeah. So the lungs actually control your sinuses, your nose. It controls also the air passageway in the throat. It controls the space between the skin and the muscles. So you'd imagine the color white or silver filling up into the throat. And there's actually acupuncture points that you could press on your thumb, on the inner corner of your thumb, and you could actually make the sound underneath your breath or audibly to help to clear the lungs. So when we have somebody with a chronic sore throat, if there's no virus going on, obviously, so then we say, okay, what are you grieving? or what has made you sad? And it doesn't have to be something like major, like my dog died. It could be, witnessing what's going on around the world and it affecting you. It could be something as, I don't want to say simple, but it could be something, as what we think is detached from the self, but it's really affecting us. And that affects the throat, that affects the lungs, I mean, the other thing too that can affect it is if the sinuses are draining, obviously, then we have to look at the spleen being involved. But if there's no sinus issues going on, then we say, okay, because the lungs are affected by the negative emotion of grief, sadness, sorrow, loss, disappointment, shame, and guilt. And so those all attack the lungs, and it doesn't have to be all of them. But if one of those resonates, and if you really check in with yourself, say, wow, when this first came up, what was going on? Can I pinpoint back to what was going on? And I'm sure if you pinpoint back to what was going on, you'll be able to say, oh, that's right. I had a disagreement with so-and-so, or, this friendship is falling apart, or, right. Or I made a really bad investment, right?
Yeah. Finance and romance, always throw it back to those two things, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, and sorry I didn't get back to you. I got all these texts.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, so the lungs is what controls that. And you're such a great communicator. And at the same time, I would say, okay, where also is maybe the voice not being heard.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah. So, okay. So that's what I look at. That Manuka honey, though, I have to say, that's gold. It costs as much too. Like, are you kidding? Yeah. Whoa. But it worked. I'm like, how come nobody told me about this weeks ago? Anyway. Okay. So other healing techniques to heal, and because everyone wants to take care of this and move on, but you have to take care of it. It's not fun in the moment ever to walk through it, but other secrets to get us through so that we can move forward.
Yeah, so when we look at diet and nutrition as well too, it's based upon the Constitution. And in Chinese nutrition, though, we view energy, or we view food as medicine, not just food. And so again, different foods will benefit or actually harm the body, even foods that you think are beneficial for you. Like
what?
For example, the cold raw diet. So many people are on the cold raw diet, but for a lot of people, it creates disease. Creates disease because your body operates. Everyone's like a snowflake, so you can't apply one across the board, right? Number two, your body operates at about 98.5 degrees. And if you put something from the refrigerator or icebox into your stomach, on average about 54, 55 degrees, your stomach has to heat it up to at least 98.5 degrees to assimilate it. And the heat that you feel, try this out, drink some ice cold water. And then what do you feel? Heat. Now, I've heard years ago in some fitness magazine said, oh, drink ice cold water. And that heat that you are feeling is calories being burned. Like, oh my gosh, really? Did you get paid to write this article? Because the heat that you're feeling is the inflammation that's being created. And guess what? That liver of ours rests on top of the stomach. And what does the liver control? Well, the liver controls so many things, but one of the things it does is it controls blood. And it also, for women, it also controls uterine blood too. So if you have a cold raw diet and you're having menstrual irregularities, cramping, those kinds of things, then what's happening is that cold and raw that actually will penetrate into the liver and then further bind the blood, which will, and you think of something, or think of cold, right? Cold contracts, right? When there's contraction, that creates pain.
Yeah.
If there's movement, there's no pain, right? The blood's moving, the chi is moving, there's no pain. But if you put something ice cold in your body because you think, oh, this is good for me, and your constitution is not set up with it or set up to handle it, and or you already have other predisposed dispositions to other things, then it could further exacerbate. Another thing it could exacerbate too is depression and anxiety disorders. So eating too much greasy, fatty, fried foods, eating too much sugar or processed foods will be an exacerbate anxiety disorders. but also too, look at the cold and raw. If you're somebody who's juicing, like, oh, I read in such and such a magazine that juicing every day is so good for me. Well, how cold is that juice? And what are you putting in that juice?
Yeah, that's good. How about this, the fasting thing? Clearly, I don't do it since I can't even think of what it's called. Just the thought of it makes me hungry. Whenever somebody tells me don't, I want to do whatever I was told not to do.
Right.
So
I'm going to be,
it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea for me. I start eating a lot.
Yeah, there's something to be said.
Intermittent fasting. That's what it
A
is.
good
Yeah.
Oh, intermittent fasting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that if you definitely, I think in general, as a society, we eat too much food anyways. And so I think that if you can narrow down that window and stick to it, you definitely can see results. I know that in Chinese, I know a lot of Chinese medicine doctors that recommend that you have one meal a day. So and that's something.
And then do you snack or no?
Well, you snack, yeah. Or what you do is the other thing too in Chinese nutrition, they say that you start off with a breakfast being the biggest meal, and then dinner is just like maybe a couple pieces of fruit and some tea or something. That's dinner. And so I think that's good as well. So, again, it's not the one size fits all. And then there's water fasting as well too. And I just got done presenting at my friend David Avocado Wolf's seminar in Laguna Beach 2 weekends ago, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A great seminar or conference, a health rejuvenation conference. And he's really big on the water fasting. And that guy on that weekend, he just got off a 14-day water fast.
Only water.
Only water, yeah. But make
Wow.
sure that it's spring water. Like your tap water is not going to be good for you. Probably contraindicated for good health. But there's a whole sequence, and it's not something you can't just dive into, obviously, 14 days, right? It's something you have to build up to. But there's something to be said about that too, to purge the body, and especially when you have high levels of toxicity and metals in your body. Parasites, that's another thing that people don't really talk about. Like, what? I could really have a parasite? Yes, you could have parasites in you as well too. That also could cause you to gain weight or retain food, weight in the body and those kinds of things, and contribute to other conditions. It's a real thing.
Yeah, you have to watch out for that when you're traveling.
Yeah. I mean, in Chinese medicine, though, they say that you can have an underlying predisposed disposition, a weakness, in particular spleen weakness, and then if you sit on a cold, wet bench, that can actually manifest worms inside the body.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a different subject.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah, that's a bit much. So, yeah, nobody's gonna sit on benches.
Right.
Like, it's a ground safe.
Yeah. So I think when we're looking at health, you have to look at it from all angles. And one of the things I was grateful for David for allowing me to be a part of this panel discussion. Well, what was cool was on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we started off with Qigong on the beach. Over 100 participants doing Qigong on the beach, and then we all ran and jumped into the ocean. And that was a great way to get that vagus nerve and everything.
Yeah, I'm sure that.
Right?
Yeah.
But what was great is that David's talking about his knowledge on food and just nutrition and mineral. It's so mind blowing how much he knows. And but then when he pulled me into the panel discussion to talk about emotions, because certain people in the audience, for example, were saying, I've done the parasite cleanses, I'm doing these fasts, these liver cleanses and stuff, but I still have, for example, high enzyme counts. What's going on? Well, you have high enzyme counts because of, repressed anger, and resentment. You fix that, and then guess what? It's not magic. Your body will kickstart itself back into normal homeostasis and function the way that it's supposed to function. And you'll save yourself tons of money.
Did you work them through that? Did you have them do the colors and breathe in the
Oh
colors?
yes, it was beautiful on Laguna Beach. Yeah. I mean, a storm was coming in and the waves were kind of high, but it was gorgeous out there. And yeah, we did whole series, and I explain to them. And what's great is that when I'm talking people through, you can see that it's resonating, because you see people tearing up and crying as they're doing the practices. So it's working. Like it's definitely working, and it's not some kind of weird belief structure. You know, these practices, I didn't make them up. They've been around for thousands of years. You know, I'm just the the microphone, right? That's
you're the facilitator.
Yeah, I'm just a facilitator. But what's great is that you see the connection with everybody. They're doing these simple practices that you can do from a seated or standing position, and you're seeing the emotional response. And what's interesting is a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I've done Qigong, this different style." I'm not going to say any of the other names, but I've done this different style of Qigong, and I said, "But have you done the style of Qigong that we're teaching that works with your emotions? Because that's more important. It's not about building how much power you have, or stamina. I mean, that's great if you're an athlete and stuff like that, but eventually, if you're not dealing with that emotional stuff, guess what? It's going to sneak up on you. It's going to catch up to you some point or another."
So which ones did you do on the beach? Where, like, when somebody said that, did you just start practicing? Which one did you do?
So I started off, with what we call the 3 Qi clearing exercises. And my favorite practice of that series is shaking the tree, because we are the only mammal on land that does not shake it off when something happens to us, and if a dog is happy to see you, or that dog is angry, the dog will shake from head to toe. If 2 ducks get into a fight, the fight lasts a few seconds. They swim away, and then they violently start flapping their wings. Why? Because they're conscious enough. They may not know that it's anger, but they're conscious enough to know, like, I got this vibration. But they flap their wings. Or animals will, if they get hurt, if an animal gets hurt, they will shake, because but us humans don't. No, we get somebody cuts us off in LA traffic, or some unpleasant news or something like that, or get into disagreement with somebody. We hold that in. And so that was how I started off, with the 3 Qi clearing exercises, then shaking the tree. But as I was going through it, and then I was explaining what you're doing medicinally inside your body, because the Qigong practices that I'm teaching is not just for you to feel good. Relaxation is a byproduct. What we're after is the active part of it. So it does have a yin aspect, which is mindfulness, but then it has a yang aspect too, which is the action that you're taking in order to cleanse your body, and in this case here, to cleanse these organs. And so I went through all 5 organs. I did a number of other practices, like practices in order to stimulate your lymph system, practices to stimulate your acupuncture meridians of the body, practices to stimulate digestion, because if we have proper digestion, guess what? We have vitality and a long life.
And all of these are on your YouTube, right?
Yeah, Chris Shelton Qigong.
Yeah, no, we've got,
Yeah.
So I've got all of that is on the website. So you guys have to go and look at these, because they're so healing and they're so amazing. I did a mindfulness meditation class, an intro to mindfulness, and I started it with like shaking, and then a grounding, just to bring everyone into their body and into the room. And it was so great. I was like, what should I do? And I felt great doing it, so I'm like listening, going, yeah.
Yeah. A really quick, funny story. So years ago, because Priest and I, my wife and I, were from the San Francisco Bay Area, and we had a fitness studio and our clinical practice up there, which another practitioner now runs up there. And anyways, we would rent out to different sublease out to different schools and practitioners that wanted to teach classes in our classroom space. And this one gal, she was she did Pilates, but she was just got trained in mindfulness meditation. And so she put together a class from her first class for mindfulness meditation. I'll never forget the day that she walked in to teach the class. She goes, I'm so darn stressed out over this mindfulness meditation class. I'm like, wait, is that going against what it is that you're teaching? Here, maybe you should practice Qigong.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's so much that you can do out there. But mental health is not really, it's not being addressed. And we just got contracts with the VA in Palo Alto and in Fresno, where we're training the
Good.
training practices for
Oh,
PTSD, for
good.
you know.
Yay.
So we're doing a lot of this stuff, and I'm hoping to get a meeting here because I did a talk for the Los Angeles Homicide Unit.
I know. We talked about it in the episode. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
so
that's great.
we're hoping that something takes here, because there's not a lot of tools out there to deal with the stress that everybody's being bombarded with. And so this is something you could, like I said again, you could take it with you anywhere. You
Yeah.
don't have to believe in it. It's
And you
also like,
don't need to like practice at home before you do it. Like this is like,
no,
just go on his YouTube. It's the easiest way to do it. If you
yeah,
want to have fun, go on the TikTok too, because that's actually really fun to watch. Chris is laughing if you're driving and not watching. He's laughing when I say it, because it's really fun. It is funny, but his face reading and stuff. So this was so fun. You guys check out everything, Chris, but you also have to listen to episode 189, Unveiling the Secrets of Healing and Emotions. It's such a good episode.
yeah, this is so much fun. I really appreciate you
Yeah.
once again bringing me on your show. You're doing such great work out there, and that's the thing, is that what can we do to give people hope, more hope? Because right now, more than ever, I think we need that.
Yeah, this is great. And Chris has such a good community within his whole Qigong. So, yay, this is great. I'm so glad we got to go on live.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, thanks again. If anybody wants any more information, please go to our website, sheltonqigong.com. You'd contact us through that homepage there, and yeah, please comment or ask questions, because that's what we're here for, is to be
Yeah,
able to acknowledge and help
they're
people.
and they're very responsive. So, Bruce and Hey, we'll get back to you.
For sure.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah, this is so much fun. Thanks again.
Yeah.